pandemic is likely to make the path towards the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals and related targets more complicated. The SDGs were launched in 2015 by the United Nations and endorsed by the international community and aim to make the world a better place for people and the environment. The pandemic is likely to hit hard on all the SDGs, causing important and negative implications for the most vulnerable and fragile groups of the population, such as elderly, women, children, and IDPs. It is estimated, for example, that the number of people who may fall into poverty may increase up to 700 million people by the end of the year. And at the same time, FAO forecasted that depending on the economic growth, performances and scenarios, the number of people who may suffer from malnutrition may increase up to 130 million people by the end of 2020. In this context, children are particularly at risk, as 3.2 billion children and adolescents worldwide were affected by the shutdown of schools. 370 million children and adolescents did not have access to school meals, which in many cases represent the main or the only source of safe and nutritious meal per day for most of them. And it is calculated that 10 million children and adolescents may not go back to school anymore. Against this backdrop, international and regional organizations and single states have launched important policies and measures to tackle the direct and indirect effects of the crisis. The United Nations have launched an ambitious global humanitarian response plan to mobilize resources to support fragile and least developed countries in the world and to foster intra-agency cooperation. In addition, the European Union has launched important measures to tackle the crisis, such as the Team Europe initiative. The European Union has pioneered the path towards the implementation of the SDGs at the global level in the last years. However, no European Union country is on track in achieving the SDGs, and EU countries fail to meet the 0.7% of ODA assigned, comparing to gross national income assigned to support the least developed and most fragile countries in the world. However, the European Union has made important progresses in this regard, as it has streamlined the SDGs in all the most recent sectorial policies, and it has developed precise and very useful metrics to track the performances of the member states in achieving the SDGs. However, it is important to highlight that the SDGs still struggle to become the main policy guidance framework for launching any sort of policy that could have an implication on the sustainability agenda. Therefore, it is important to use and to make the SDGs the real and the only guiding principle for launching any policy that could have a negative spillover or externality on any dimension of the Sustainable Development Goal agenda and targets. In this context, it is important to strengthen and support multilateral cooperation in economic and health issues with the aim to tackle the short, medium and long-term effects of the crisis. The SDGs ask us to set up and to start up a radical transformation in our society and are the only way to make the world more fair, more sustainable, and to leave no one behind.